Okay, by now you know a lot about playing the blues. We've covered a lot of territory. If you go back through all the videos, one at a time, taking your time, and really looking at everything that's in there, and if you took everything we've done into the 12 keys, even slowly, just patiently, carefully, you have a lot going on the piano. You have a lot of knowledge of theory and a lot of knowledge of blues. And it's amazing to think about that we've just gone step by step in a chord progression, just adding on little things here and there. But if you go back and look at everything we did, and you maybe copy some of these things into notebooks, or a notebook where everything is there for your blues, you'll be surprised. You've got an incredible amount of theory knowledge that can carry into other types of music, and you can gain a lot of technique as well, a lot of ideas for technique. So in this next section of my book, we're going to be moving more into theory, advanced theory, involved theory, 12 key ideas. And so there's going to be a lot of different focus and a lot more tutorials on scales, chords, and all of that. I'm going to continue to go the same way though, nice and slow, not overblowing with the theory knowledge and not talking too heady. I want to do everything as it occurs and everything for the purpose of being able to play. So it's not going to get more complicated. It's actually not going to get more difficult. There is going to be a shift in the things that are in the videos, because we're moving more into the area where you're actually getting involved in specifics that some people are interested in and some people may not be interested in. So to go a little bit further, a little bit more involved, that's where we're headed. Now for today's tutorial, I thought it might be kind of a good idea to just briefly discuss the issue of playing one thing in one hand and one thing in the other hand. This can be really frustrating. It can be a formidable task for many people, and some people it just comes naturally. So I think the problem is when you watch somebody playing, if it came naturally to them, then they're doing it. And if they've been practicing for a long time, then they're doing all of this stuff. And so you can tend to look at that and think, well, wow, I'll never be able to do that. But that's always the problem, isn't it? That we can't look at somebody who can do something and let that be the measure as to where we can do something. Our bar has to be set higher than what we can do and equal to or higher than those whom we view when they're playing. So if I hear a good player, I see a good player, and I'm interested in their thing, then I don't say, wow, I can't do that. I say, okay, there's another thing I've got to be able to do if I'm going to call myself an artist. So there are varying degrees of your desire and your artistry based on everything I just said. So always remember, the most important thing is to be yourself. Find who you are and do what you need to do to express yourself properly. If you're happy with your level of expression, then you can just enjoy everybody else who's expressing themselves their way. And that goes back to the boogie woogie piano thing and the stride thing. Watching somebody do something really well is often really gratifying. And for me, it's enough. When I see somebody playing really cool stuff that I like and admire, I don't have to do it all. And that was something I've enjoyed learning over the years, is letting go of control or letting go of what I think I need to do. Sometimes it's not always about what people think you should do. Sometimes these judgments that make life so difficult are actually coming from within ourselves. And then we're ending up being run by things within and not really free. So stick to your goals and how you want to play and what you want to play. Now, that said, one of the ways, the most important way I have been able to get so I can improvise and create and play something in this hand and something in this hand is by the use of rhythm. In other words, I count, and I always give my students that task as well. So when you're making things up, it's harder than when you're reading something. So if I had a piece of music that's a classical piece, and somebody's going to play it, well, the rhythms are dictated. So what are you going to do in your left hand? It's right there. What are you going to do in your right hand? It's right above it. And so you can separate the hands, and you can count evenly, slowly, use all the exact rhythms, counting with and then you can eventually, when each hand is good, separate, you can put them together and you're playing this really involved, intricate music, and it all goes together and is a cohesive thing moving along through the piece. You can work your way through very difficult pieces and end up with some great technique. The problem is that same thing has to be done when you're making up the ideas, when you're deciding what to play. And that's where it can get really difficult, because you don't have somebody telling you what to do with your left hand or your right hand. It's coming from within you. So I always like to go back to the basic vocabulary, the basic language, and build on that. But I focus on the rhythm. So if I focus on the linear material, the lines that I want to play, or the chords that I want to play, then I might master a particular thing that sounds really cool, but that's not playing with two hands. That's a thing I've got mastered, and I might be able to stick that into a groove or a tune, but it's not really going to help me in another tune when I'm jamming with some people and I want to throw things in that are cool. I'm not going to have anything because I only have that where it fits. So if you practice separate-handed things together, that sounded weird, then you can get some ambidextrous qualities going. So you basically are splitting your brain in half. You're splitting yourself in half. So in my right hand, I'm going to play straight eighth notes. In my left hand, I'm going to play straight quarter notes. And I'm going to go real slow to show you this is exactly how I learned. So I couldn't improvise because it would fall apart. I couldn't play a solo with my right hand because everything crashed and burned. So the only way I could get there was to take the material I was going to be using and break it down into rhythmic patterns. So we start simple with the two-handed thing. So if I'm going to do quarter notes in my left hand on a C triad, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going to do eighth notes in my right hand. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now this is a great way to start. Now if you wanted to, you could go left hand. So that was improvised based on the major scale and the pentatonic scale. So that is the idea, that as you get more comfort, then you can start having a direction and a desire and actually send your hands out on a mission for new notes. And you can also leave notes out, leave rhythms out. If you're counting and feeling the rhythm, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. In the beginning, you want to stay simple like that. No one would tell you or me
that actually is the end result of a full-blown improvisation that you play in front of a crowd. But you have to start somewhere. So that's why we're doing this. You can get experimental, but keep your rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So I tried something fancy. I did some chromatic thirds. They were minor thirds, and I just did that for the heck of it. What will happen? So, but I'm thinking of the rhythm and keeping my left hand going as quarter notes. Now, if that's too difficult, then don't feel bad, because listen, this was impossible for me. I thought I would never get there. The times I was finally able to play something in the left hand and do something with the right was like a time to go throw a party and have a celebrate. It took me a long time to get this together, and I was constantly reading and studying on it and how to get there. So you do the same. We can go a little more simple. We'll have a whole note here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we can try to say, why don't I put something on beat 3 with my left hand? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I'm only hitting on beat 3. And that helps you to separate yourself or your brain and start thinking one thing here and one thing here. And notice we haven't changed up. We're staying on the white keys so we don't have to think or work. If you get too complicated, then you can't focus on splitting your brain in half. That's what we're trying to do. We're literally trying to get something happening here and something happening here. If we start doing too much, it's an overload and everything breaks down and it just doesn't work. So you can stay on the white keys for a while or stay on all black keys, but just keep the linear and the harmonic end simple until you start understanding how to move the two hands separately. You can make a C7, you can do a nice simple one there, and maybe use, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. When I have beginners playing the blues, that's exactly what I give them. Quarter notes here after they can do whole notes, and then get practice being able to switch. Can you make the switch to the F chord and not lose the rhythm? But I'm counting, because then I know where everything is. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So my F is going to hit on 1. That means this has to hit on 1. And by doing this, you really do ingrain the form or the chord changes into your system so that you feel them. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So now I feel that, and you'll feel that. And 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1. So I stop on the G because we don't want to go too far, but you can see what's happening there. There's an evolution. There's a process where suddenly I start getting further and further able to maneuver, and then you can get more complicated with your left hand. I'm feeling that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So again, I'm basing my ambidextrous training on rhythm. If I put a rhythm here and a rhythm here, I can keep the two going. So then you can get more complicated as time goes on. If we keep the same idea but do triplets, this is going to be triplet, 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 triplet. So I'm playing with triplets and I'm back to quarter notes. Now, I could get fancy by switching the inversion. So I'm still going to stay on one chord, the C, but I might do an inversion. And then I get some change there, but I'll keep triplets. Triplet, 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 So there's how you can get things happening. I was doing a little bit different there and getting a little more involved, a little bit this way. You could switch and do this going the other way with the left hand and holding the fork down here. But the last thing I want to get in, I don't want to take too long, I want to show you everything. So the other rhythmic grouping, you have quarters, and you have eighths, and you have 16th notes. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. So here, you have to get a little more dexterity training in your right hand, but that's also how you can get stamina. So let's just take a 16th note figure, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and we're going to do that and do the left hand with quarters. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 4E and a 1E. If you can get that going, then you can leave notes out. You can move more towards 16th notes in tempo, and then you can move those groupings all around and then start mixing them up. So now we do all the rhythmic groupings. Quarters, 2 and 3 and eighths, triplets, sixteenths, and so on. So you mix those rhythmic groupings up, and that way you start hearing, the ideas that you can play and the rhythms you can play. But notice I'm doing everything based on rhythm so that I can stay organized, and it is calculated. So there is an aspect of my improvisation right now that has to be contained in the scales or the things that I physically can play so that I can think about rhythm. Because I'm not trying to play music. I'm actually trying to develop the split between my hands. So even my mistakes are part of the process here, because this is much more clinical and mathematical. It has more to do with the hand independence than what I might play that sounds good. So you could take any figure.
When I was in early high school, freshman, sophomore year, I was playing blues, and you had this bass line. Something like that. I don't even remember exactly what I did to get out of it to go back. Maybe it was that. But the point is that I would be playing that, and then I would improvise with my right hand. So I'm playing all this blues scale and scale stuff and cool stuff and banging it out, and then I'm playing that. And I was doing that at a party once where it was, I was still, I wasn't playing professionally yet, but I was getting, I think, I can't remember, but there was a party and there was a bunch of people around. It was at my house. And then this girl was sitting on the bench and she was watching me play. So I'm playing, I'm going crazy and having a blast here, and I'm playing that thing with my left hand. And then at a certain point, I stopped, and she was like, "Wow, that's really cool. Can you do that again and just play a different bass line, do something different with your left hand?" And I was like, "Well, no, I can't do that." And she was like, "Well, you got to change it up in the left hand. You got to do something different, because you can't just play that same thing over and over, because that comes out and it gets boring. It's dominating your playing, and you're hearing that more than all the stuff you're doing in the right hand." Okay, two things. I never say things are boring, so that is what she said. But I always try not to use that word, because when somebody's playing their heart out, it's not boring if that's the best they can do. So second thing is, that wasn't the best I can do. That's what I settled for, because I wanted to jam. I wanted to blow. I didn't have a bass player, so I got this thing that would stay there and just be there and not thinking about it, and then I could do all of this. But what I didn't realize was that after having done that for a long time, I actually had developed an ability to play two separate hands and two different things. So if I had some things worked out in the left hand that were kind of cool, I was able to actually play with a lot of freedom with my right hand. And so the idea for me was to get better at playing something different in the left hand and something different in the right hand, because I wanted to be able to improvise totally, not just what I described there. Here's this, and then this I can have fun with. I didn't want to be half a person. So for my expression, I needed to be able to do more. But having done that so long, that I realized I actually had the ability to do two different things. But now I needed to work more on creating something in the left hand that would work with the right hand, and also possibly be different and happening and changing as the right hand was changing. So this is a much more demanding work, and that began further my journey. As I said, I was very early freshman year, maybe sophomore year, and so that was the work I started heading towards my future. I said in other videos, I didn't want to be a boogie-woogie pianist. I don't actually enjoy playing the same things over and over. I learn everything that's difficult for one reason: to get more technique, more two-handed freedom and more ear training, more soul training. And then I move all of what I've learned into the next place of my own creativity. So that's where we'll leave it for today. Don't let anyone say you're boring. If you're doing your best, then don't ever have your feelings hurt. Just don't play for those people. I was grateful to her for that. She got me thinking deeper, and she made me realize I was having a lot of fun, but I could have been stuck there forever. And sometimes it's good when somebody will come and knock you off your log, so you just try a little harder. So I hope that I have done that for you in a gentle way, a little bit gentler than she was, but I thought she was cool for doing that. I always like the truth straight up. So in the meantime, you work on that, do your best, take your time, play the tutorial over, and think about different ways you can start playing with two hands. You're going to get this. Everybody does who wants to. The thing is, you want to, you'll get it. And I want to keep going with you. I'll see you next time.